right, hey, it's April 14th, your weekly Lake Ozarks fishing report. Lake level is 655. It's been kind of, really maintaining 655 for it seems like a couple, 3 weeks now. They're still pulling a lot of water through Bagnall. They're kind of fluctuating it anywhere from 5 to 8,000 to 30,000. So there's still quite a bit of current. It seems like rolling through the lake. They're letting water out of Truman. We've had some rain. So they're letting quite a bit out, but it's maintaining. So it's not really coming up yet, and it's definitely not going down. So as far as the lake level, water temp, our temps, we kind of just like every year. And this year we kind of thought we was going to heat up fast and maybe speed things up. But obviously that hasn't happened. It seems like each week, we've been getting a couple really cool nights, in the 30s. It's like 2 days a week we'll get 30 degrees and it'll be kind of cool. And it just, it keeps that water temp, it's gotten up to about 50, I'd say 49 to 54 for the most part. You get up some of the river arms, it's warming up on a good warm day. Lower mid-lake, we're still right around 50, 52 maybe. But like I said, if we get these cool nights, it drops that water. So we're kind of reached a little stall as far as a warm-up. I know, let's see, I just looked, yesterday was cool and rainy. Today was still pretty cool. We're going to have a decent day tomorrow. And then I believe it's Sunday. It's going to be back in the 30s, Sunday or Monday. A couple cool days. But then next week, prior to the Big Bass Bash, which is the following weekend, we're got a pretty good, consistent warm-up. So that should at least get the water temp stable, and really get a lot of fish feeding more. They've been here lately, it's been pretty good bite, but it's a typical spring. We'll have a really good day, and then we'll have a slow day. We might have a slow day or two, and then we'll have a couple good consistent days. So it's just a typical spring fishing, not real consistent. You don't really know, what to expect each day. You kind of just gotta experiment a little bit. Day to day, because not necessarily what worked yesterday is going to work tomorrow. So that's just spring fishing. Real quick, the watercolor, I know we've had a lot of rain, but it's been kind of spotty rain. Like, it'll go across, say, the Ninewood arm, more towards Camdenton. So that's got a little more, water coming in, and it'll color up a little bit more up the Ninewoods. And then down through the glaze, up the glazes got some color. But then if you go, like say up the Osage, up the Gravois, in the lower lake and stuff, it's still fairly clear. It's actually really clear, clearer than it normally is this time of year as far as I'm concerned. But there's some water coming in. So we've got, in some of the creeks, like I said, not all of them have a lot of runoff. Some of them do, and it kind of depends on what side of the lake you're on. Or like say if you're heading up the Osage, if you get the north side, say the Sunrise Beach side, that water may be a little cleaner coming in than if you're talking about the creeks that feed, the more southern side, say the Edwards, Climax Springs, all that side. So you can kind of jump back and forth if you're looking for colored water, if that's what you're looking for, I spent a little more time this last week or two on the lower end, at least say the glaze to the dam. Had a couple really good days. Let's see, one day in particular we went out, it was one of the perfect days. It was real cruddy. The wind was really blowing pretty hard, kind of misty rain, and man, they bit. I had a couple guys, and we figured, they had about 21 pounds in about 45 minutes on one bank, 150-yard stretch. Those are the banks you look for. Those are the days you wait for. They just don't happen very often. We've had some Other days are really good, catch one or two good fish, but that particular day, man, they really bit, and it's just a spring, and it's all timing. Is the biggest thing I can say. We went down that bank, caught all them fish. We went back down it a second time. I don't know, we might have caught one or two. We left for about an hour and a half, came back, and went down that bank, and I don't think we caught a fish on that bank. So it just, it's all timing. You got to be in the right place at the right time, throwing the right thing. So, as far as baits, this time of year, especially, I'm going to start talking a little more about the big bass bash, which is coming up. I've got a couple people going to help me out next week prior to the big bash, a couple previous winners, and some other people that's done real well, just kind of help, kind of pool up some experience around this time of year, and they cast checks, and actually one or two of them have actually won the big bash. So if I can get that put together, I'm going to put that together for you, and we can all kind of talk about it. But, from what I've seen, there's a lot of males moving up really shallow. They've been up there for a while, and they're moving towards the backs. If I get off of main lake, or even main, I'm going to call it a main secondary, if that makes sense, like a big splitter point, we're catching a lot of small fish. Me and Denise was out yesterday playing around a little bit, just trying to find out, if these fish are moving. Got a trip tomorrow. She's got a trip. And we're just trying to stay on top of these fish, and it takes every day to do that. But what I was getting at was we fished pretty hard, and we caught a few keepers, but they were all, little males, 16, I think 16 and a half, 17 inches. Had a couple of them little 15 inches, and they were towards the backs. And we were in the backs, and we were flipping a black tube. I really like flipping a black tube this time of year. Little 5/16 or quarter ounce tungsten weight. I flip it on 12 pound, 12 or 15, with a 4/0 wide gap hook. This is the old Crappie Gator 4-inch super salty tube. Comes in a variety of colors. I'm just kind of partial to a few colors. I don't get real crazy with colors when it comes to jigs and tubes and lizards and shaky heads. I just keep it green pumpkin and something, maybe black and red, maybe, that's really it. It's a green color combination, and I think you'll find if you stick with that, you spend a whole lot less time changing baits or playing with colors than you do fishing. So just try to keep it simple. But this bait, it'll produce some good fish this time of year. It's just always has. And I'm just flipping around these shallow docks, trying to find one of these big females that's really moved up and is staging, to spawn. Like I said, that water's nowhere near where they're going to spawn yet. Not to say that way up the river, on any of these river arms, you may have some of the early fish move in and spawn, but the majority of them aren't there yet. So you can keep flipping these shallow docks, and then big fish are going to show up. Like I said, I'm going to keep talking more about the bash coming up, since that's such a big event. Midwest Bass Tournaments put that on. Charlie and Randy and everyone involved in that super event. I'm sure most of you know about it. They have two of them, one in the spring, one in the fall. Always an extremely good event. $100,000 to win with one fish. And I think we know 4 people personally that's already won it. So what a neat deal. But baits for that. I'm going to go out kind of on a limb and say what I think is going to win it, and how much or what bait is going to win it. And if I was fishing it, what I've seen this past week, and the weather coming up here this next week, I'm personally, I would go with the big spinnerbait. I know you hear that a lot. A lot of people are saying spinnerbaits, a lot of spinnerbaits. So that means a lot of people are going to be throwing it. But the thing with a big spinnerbait like this, for pre-spawn bass, especially when you're working main lake stuff. I'm gonna say it's probably gonna be one on the main lake point, a main lake bluffin, maybe a secondary point, a bigger secondary point. And you know, it's like this one here. This is a 3/4 ounce. It's got a big willow, and then it's got a Colorado. This is a nickel willow Colorado gold. It's got a big, you know, nice big hook. When you look for a spinnerbait, make sure you get one with a great big 5-6/0 round bend hook on it. You know, I like to throw a little swim bait on the back of it. This is a little Kitech, not Kitech. I'm sorry. This is the Reaction Innovation. Kitech makes a good one. There's several good swim baits out there. I just kind of like this one because I like this mouse color, kind of a white, shady looking, but then it's a little bit of chartreuse on it. And a lot of times that seems to make a difference. That little swim bait on the back gives it a lot of action, a little more vibration, and seems to, you know, call up some bigger fish and get a fish. I don't have my trailer on here, but also with this bait, this swim bait, you can still put your trailer on the back of it, and where it'll stick out and it won't interfere with your swim bait. Normally, if you weren't throwing a swim bait, you'd probably throw a little bigger trailer hook. But with this, you might throw one of the little 2/0 trailer hook, or you can even squeeze a 3/0 trailer hook on there. One with that plastic that's in the eye, so when you put it on there, it sticks straight out and it ain't hanging all over, interfering with your action of that swim bait. I throw that on a 17-pound test, 7'3". This is a Falcon Amistad rod with an 8-to-1 lose reel. The reel, you know, anything, you know, 7 or above is good for spinnerbait. I've actually got this one on an 8 right now. Normally I would probably throw it in a 7.5, where you're just throwing it out and reeling it on. You're not burning this spinnerbait right now. You're not waking it all across the top on this main lake point stuff that I'm talking about. Bluff ends, main lake points. And what you're looking for is like some shallower water that dumps off into that deep water, just textbook type stuff, you know. And the thing with this is, I don't care if everyone on the lake's throwing it, it's all about timing. You pull through 15 minutes past someone else, and these fish decide to feed. They move up, you know, from being suspended down. They'll move up and feed for a little bit. They might feed for 20 minutes, and then they're done. You know, you might throw a spinnerbait by the same path 8-10 times, and finally the 10th time, one comes up and grabs it. And they're usually big ones. You know, they're going to be the ones that's going to at least cash you a check. So this, I would say, #1 bait for the big bass this particular year is going to be a spinnerbait like this one here. You know, I was talking about main lake points, bigger rock, chunkier rock. You know, and if that doesn't work, go to a flatter, gravelly point. You know, sometimes these fish, or at least the shad, will get up on these flatter points this time of year. And if they do that, the bass are right there with them. So you it's still about the shad. You know, the fish are feeding on some crawfish, but these big ones are still hanging out there. They know about this weather. Haven't totally committed. So they're just hanging out. They're suspended. We're catching fish like in the fronts of these main lake docks, you know, around these braces, maybe in the shade, or just out there on the point, out kind of in nowhere land. They're just there. You can see them on the live scope, and you'll run a bait by them, and you'll see them kind of react. Sometimes they're really aggressive, and sometimes it might take a couple times to finally trigger them. But I promise you throw a spinnerbait, you know, for 2 days, you're going to cash some checks and maybe the winning fish. That would be my #1 bait. Like I said, on points, that bait also is super deadly, like around shallow cover too. Maybe like up the river's arms, you know, the glaze is real good this time of year. Up the Osage, some of them big major creeks. The Gravois, you get way up there, get some color. And even up the 9-way. You get up in that 9-way, you get in some of that dirty, warm water that's coming down right now. And you can see 16, 18, maybe 2 foot of water. Big spinnerbaits, deadly, super deadly around laydowns in the water. You'll go from the bank out to maybe 4 foot, big laydowns. Shallow brush that's just random out on a flat right now. Huge, big fish sit by that isolated cover on these big flats in the back of these creeks. So don't overlook those. Big spinnerbait, throw it by it several times. And right along with that, spinnerbait is going to be Old Faithful 3/4 ounce Crappie or head knocker buzzbait. You know, my go-to is black and gold. You can see the trailer hook on her. Always put a trailer hook on her. Especially now, a lot of these fish aren't overly aggressive, but we're well in the window of a buzzbait working. Especially now, not a whole lot of people have been throwing it, and these fish that you catch on them, they're usually really good ones. Same deal with spinnerbait. A lot of times you got to make repetitive casts. Get in behind these docks where you've got maybe 2 foot of water, and then the dock right now, throw up to that catwalk and bring it right down the side of that foam. You know, several times, and big females will sit just underneath that foam in that shade where they're in that warm water. They're shallow, but they're underneath that cover. And you throw that in there a few times, and if there's a big one in there, she's going to come out and grab it. Same thing with the shallow brush I was talking about. Throw a buzzbait over any shallow brush. If it's big brush, if it's just 2 little sticks, 1 stick, throw it by there several times. You know, it seems like, I don't know, 3 to 5 foot is a perfect water depth for the spinnerbait, for the buzzbait around the shallow cover. So don't overlook that. Big fish bait, especially this time of year. You're not going to catch a lot of them on it, but you're not looking for a lot of them next weekend. So big fish, 2 big fish baits. History for as long as bass fishing, those 2 baits, big fish bait. The next one is coming into play, and it's actually at least resulted in one of the wins of the big bass is Carolina rig. Carolina rig this time of year really comes into play. You know, this is the time of year. Anytime that water gets, I don't know, 49, 50 degrees, I got it all wrapped up here. I want to show you my trailer and the way we rig it here. Yeah, we got it all. Here we go. One more. There we go. So, you know, the Carolina rig, if you're not familiar with the Carolina rig, it's a super simple technique, methods, been around for a long time, catches a lot of big fish, especially this time of year. There's several baits you can throw on it. You know, this is a 7'3" rod. You want a good rod, a good long rod so you can make long casts with it, cover water with it, a good solid backbone, but a little bit of a faster tip so it'll throw these long leaders and get them out there. You know, the reel, I like a 8 to 1 reel because you're dragging this bait by your motion with your arm. You're not really retrieving it to retrieve your bait in. So I like a good fast reel. 17, 20 pound test main line. But then my leader is I throw 12. Okay, for a couple of reasons. Obviously it's lighter. This is monofilament. So, you know, my main is going to be fluorocarbon, you know, for sensitivity. And then your leader, that's going to be monofilament, you know, so that'll float. It'll help keep your bait up off of the bottom a little bit. It'll help it not sink so fast. It'll slowly fall to try to get a bite. You've got, you know, I usually throw a half or 3/4, depending on your depth. If you're throwing a Carolina rig, you're going to want to throw it on points still, maybe on some flats, you know, some entries to some pea gravel. So if you've got pea gravel, say in a little pocket, you come out of that pea gravel and you start to have, you know, baseball size, softball size rock, you know, and even maybe a couple basketball size mixture with that pea gravel. That's your perfect bank. You know, maybe a little less, not quite a 45, 30 degree, kind of a flat general bank, maybe something where they're going to move up and spawn, and you're going to drag this thing through all that from the bank all the way out to probably 12 foot of water is going to be your prime depth. I've got like here, I've got a 3/4 ounce slip weight on there. You can see that. Okay, then I've got a bead, a glass bead, and then I've got my swivel. Okay, so you put your 3/4 ounce weight on, you put your bead, that bead protects the knot. It also, you can hear it rattling on there. It makes a lot of rattling when that weight's, going through the rocks, through the gravel. It gets a lot of attention. Then you got your swivel that goes from your main line to your leader, okay? And then you can experiment depending on the clarity of the water. With that water clear like this year, I'm going with at least a 3-foot leader. Some guys will go 4 foot, 5 foot. If you're in the dirtier water, you tend to shrink it down, maybe 16, 18 inches of the leader. But generally, if you do about a 3-foot leader on that, and right now this is a 4/0 wide gap hook, and right now I've got the Zoom mid-side brush hog on it. It's got a little more action, a little more movement. There's all kind of baits you can try on this. You're gonna, like I said, you're gonna throw this up to the bank and just drag the thing, drag it along slow. Where that weight's bouncing around, causing a commotion. It gets the fish's attention. They come up to it. If they're not necessarily feeding on the bottom, but just off the bottom, then you've got this easy little, bait up here just off of the bottom that they're going to come up and they're going to grab that. Like this. This is a mid-sized brush hog. Another bait, if I want to settle it down, is the Crappie Gator Muskrat. That's really come into play really good on the Carolina rig the last few years. And that, it's got a lot of action when you're dragging it. It's got them ribs on it for vibration. And it's just a little more subtle approach to a Carolina rig, but it has proved to be really good in the past years. And then, I just got green pumpkin red flake. Another bait, this one here actually won it on a Carolina rig, and this is the green pumpkin swamp bug senior. You see all the action, legs, big tail. These big females are coming up in there and they're wanting a big meal. And on the right day, this one right here, it's already proven to do it. And it could be, it could do it again, obviously. It catches a lot of big fish as a Carolina rig trailer. So, different baits, try different baits, different styles. I would start with like the swamp bug senior, maybe a Zoom lizard, the 7-inch lizard, green pumpkin, maybe a little chartreuse on the tail. The brush hogs, the 3 different size brush hogs. Even a 10-inch worm, has works on the Carolina rig. Carolina rig, you can put pretty much anything. You just maybe will adjust your hook size, to be sized right with whatever you put in on there as a trailer. Work that bait, like I said, on points. You really need a mixture of rock, something with a little pea gravel. Mixture seems to always work. And maybe start on some bigger stuff and just work your way all the way around until you get pea gravel. Throw right in the middle of these spawning cuts and flats. I call them, it might be pea gravel, it might be 6 foot out in the flat. Perfect place to throw it and just drag it along there. There might be a log or a stump, maybe an isolated boulder, a little bit of cover, and you get this close to it, with that weight going through the brush or around that stump, and then you got this bait just above it. It's deadly. It's a deadly bait. It's a really good bait for spring, and right now it's the time to throw it. So these 3 baits, I'm going to say one of these baits will probably win the bash. I'm going with spinnerbait right now. As far as size, I'm going to say just over 7 pounds is going to win the bash. There's been a lot of 7-pounders caught in the last few weeks. My experience is they always show up early March through late March, early April, and then they disappear for a little while until after the spawn. So that's why I'm not going over 8 pounds. I don't think we're not going to beat it's not going to take a fish over 8 pounds. Somewhere in the 7 pound range is probably will win the bass this year. At least that's my prediction. Stickbait's still catching a lot of fish. It has slowed down a little bit for us as far as the numbers. It's not as predictable as the last few weeks. We knew you could go out to most of the points if you had wind, and wind coming straight in on a point, and throw a stickbait, and you catch a lot of numbers, and you catch 1 or 2, maybe 3 really good fish throughout the morning. The morning bite has been really, really good from, say, daylight till 11 o'clock. And then it's just really fell off after 11, at least for us. That early bite has been really good, really consistent, and it just kind of falls off. Now, as we warm up, that will probably increase. As that water warms, the fish metabolism warms up. They're going to feed a little bit more, maybe a little more often, or maybe twice a day they'll feed real good. So, there may be a midday bite too. There should be. If we've got wind, there definitely will be, you'd have a good bite all day long. This time of year, the more wind, the better for me, especially throwing the big spinnerbait. Just throw your bait direct, and when that wind's coming straight in on that point, or straight in on a bank, even a straight bank, especially if it's kind of a semi-channel bank, work them spinnerbaits down them channel banks on these points. If that wind's blasting in on it, you better go down it with a spinnerbait and work all depths. The other day, there was a couple fish that were suspended, and they were down, say, 6 or 8 foot, maybe even 10 foot. And then there was a couple that were right up on the bank. So you just got to be ready, and be ready for them fish to be shallow this time of year, especially on a warming trend where that water is on a steady, climb into warmer water. So, jig, I'm still throwing jig, little finesse jig even. Sometimes even with the bass, or there's been a lot of fishing pressure. You just downsize. Sometimes it will trigger or get you a bite, where maybe these bigger fish or bigger baits may not get a bite. The fish may be keen to it. They just may not be in that mood. Like I said, they're starting to feed a whole lot more on crawfish. They may be getting tired of shad. Sometimes they'll go off the shad and go on crawfish. So nothing better than a little 3/8 ounce Crappie or zapper jig. Keep it simple. I'd say Ozark crawl with a little green pumpkin ring crawl on the back of it. You're going to catch fish. And this little bait here has caught a lot of giant fish too. You'll catch everything on a little finesse jig, from little fish to 6, 7 pounders. You'll catch them on a jig. The jig's always a go-to bait. If nothing else is working, if we got a bright, sunny, flat day, no wind, no commotion, nothing changing that surface, a lot of times you may have to just slow down and really fish a lot of cover, fish some shallow brush piles. The same ones you throw that spinnerbait over, or the buzzbait. Flip that jig in there 6, 8 times. Let it sink to the bottom in the middle of it, and just sit there. Don't even move the thing. Kind of tighten your line, keep your line tight. Every once in a while, give it a little twitch. Let it sit there in that shallow brush pile. If there's a fish in that brush pile, eventually he's not going to pass that jig up, where he may not be in the mood to chase a spinnerbait or a buzzbait. If you leave that jig in front of him long enough, he's going to pick it up. So keep that in mind if you find some shallow cover like that, and that's what you're going to target. Throw these other baits over it a few times. Work them fast over it. Work them, burn it up to them. Kill it. Let them fall on either side of the brush or cover. Maybe speed it up a little bit. Whatever. Just kind of vary your retrieve. If that don't work, turn around, flip that tube in there, or flip the jig in there, and you're going to catch some fish. The little swamp bug, a little 1/4 ounce head, still catching. We're catching a lot. Probably caught more numbers on this weekend. A lot of smaller fish, but it's been 2 years ago, 3 years ago. guy won the bass on the little swamp bug. He was a little further up the river, flipped it over by some shallow cover, and caught the winning fish on the bass on the small swamp bug. So it's been won twice on a swamp bug, two different sizes, two different ends of the lake, two different methods. One was Carolina rig, one was on stand-up head. So it's productive bait. It's proven to win the bass already a couple of times. Oh boy. Crappie continues to be really good. You know, a lot of big schools of crappie. Some days are really tucked underneath these docks, a little hard to get to. They're down in the brush, but a lot of days they're suspended just out in the open, out in the main lake, not main lake, like in the back of cove. Instead of under the docks, they're just out here in the open, and you know, that's where the live scope and forward-facing sonar is so valuable now. You can just pan around as you're fishing, and you'll find a school of 40 crappie out in the center. Nobody's been messing with them. They're just out there in the open, super easy picking. You just throw your bait to them, let it sink down, reel it right through them, and they're going to come out and grab it. So super easy way to catch crappie. I'm actually rigging rods up tonight for tomorrow morning. Got a crappie trip. You know, and I expect to have a really good day tomorrow catching crappie. Really been kind of marking, you know, when you're out bass fishing, you can't help it. You see these schools of crappie, and they really don't move a whole lot this year or this time of year, other than moving in and moving out. You know, they're not traveling real far. So obviously I'll mark it on my maps, and then I'll go back to them. So I've got plenty of schools marked for tomorrow. I expect a really good day of crappie. We're still throwing the little Kitech, the little shad swimmer. What's that thing called? Easy Shiner. Minnow by Kitech. They've got a variety of colors that's you know, shad oriented. Some of them got a little blue, some got a little chartreuse. You know, I play with the colors all the time. It really don't seem like it matters a whole lot. You get this around them. It's got that squid smell on it, scent. I think which was really good, kind of similar to, like, say, throwing the crappie nibbles on it. Sometimes it takes a little scent to get these fish to react. You know, but we're just throwing it past the school, letting it sink down, watching on the live scope. It sinks down to the same level or just above, and just real slow over it, and then fish will come out of that school and grab these baits. If we're shooting docks, a lot of fish are getting, you know, piled under some of these docks, some of these big swim platforms. We're shooting, you know, you can shoot these baits. These don't shoot as well because they kind of got that tail, and a lot of times that'll drag and it'll hamper. So we're going back to like your little single crappie tail, like your little bass Sesson, a little crappie Bobby Garland's little slipped my mind right now what it is. But anyway, just the little crappie jigs, you know, rigging it on a 6-pound test, and then on the heads, little 16 out with the coil on it, so you can wrap your bait around it and bring it up tight to your head. It keeps them on there so it won't come off. You catch several fish on the same bait, these soft baits. You can start, we've been here lately, some fish are moving shallow, some of the crappie, and we're using a bobber, you know, setting it about 2 foot of water, throwing it right up to the bank, and just reeling it a little bit, really slow, and letting it sit there and letting the waves from the wind just kind of move that bait. If you can see the school out there, you can throw it and let it just work it right over top and let it sit there. And just the slight movement from the wind and the wave is enough to bring them fish up out of school and grab that. You just kind of got to pay attention where they're at and probably set your bobber in accordance so you can get them to come up and commit and bite that bait. So, you know, boy, that's about it. I did life jackets. Always talk about life jackets. It doesn't matter if you're out just fun fishing, pre-fishing, fishing a tournament, fishing a bass. It doesn't matter. A friend of ours, he shared it on Facebook. I guess it was last weekend or the weekend after, had a little incident. He's a very experienced driver, knows all about running boats, and actually, I kind of forget what had happened. The motor stalled out or something, and the boat hooked on him, threw his passenger out, threw him to the floor. They had their life jackets on, and he's credited a life jacket for saving his life. So the whole thing is, it can happen to any of us at any time. I don't care how experienced you are, things happen. There's things in the water you don't know about. There's a lot of people. It's starting to get a little busier. If the weather's nice, it's going to get real busy. There's a lot of people that, without saying too much, just aren't paying attention out there. And they're tunnel vision. They're not panning around, and they're just not safe sometimes. So it leaves it solely up to you, the captain of your boat and vessel, to watch people coming up from behind you, coming out of coves, coming at you, not paying attention. You just gotta be a defensive driver on the water at all times. There's been a few cruisers out. Them cruisers are notorious for going through. You don't even see the cruiser, it's gone. That giant wave, here it comes. You don't see a boat, and all of a sudden you run down the lake and there's this big wave. So there's a lot of things that can happen. It happens extremely quick. So, man, put these life jackets on there. These life jackets are so comfortable nowadays. You put them self-inflatable ones on, and ensure you're going to come back at the end of the day in case unforeseen some sort of accident. So nobody wants that to happen. I thought I was going to have the new boat. I've got the new boat. I'm getting it rigged down at Sport World Boat Center. They're doing a super job on it. Everything went super smooth. I want to reveal what it is, but I want to wait till I have it here so I can really tell you about it. But all I do know is Sport World Boat Center down there. The whole family has been a part of designing it, picking out colors. I picked out my colors, but they helped kind of design some things. Of course, it's full of Garmins. We're rigging the Garmins. I've got my deck of batteries. Chris from Wholesale Batteries went out of his way to bring me the batteries. So I have the exact right ones set up, the exact size, everything I need. I can't thank everyone enough for helping make it come together. But I'll reveal all that and talk all about the boat. And what I expect out of it. But man, until then, I ain't got a whole lot else for you. But just this bass, it's a neat deal, and I don't know where else you can go. Fish all day, have fun, spend it with a friend, maybe a son, a daughter, your wife, whatever, and maybe catch a fish. There'll be a lot of casts. There's a lot of checks to be had. And a lot of good money. Yeah, everyone's after that $100,000, but you can win, 200, 400, 800, 1,000. 4 times a day, the different time slots. So if you've never fished a bass, look into it and make sure you get in this bass. It's what a neat event. They've got different weigh-in sites, 4 different weigh-in sites around the lake, so you can put your boat in whatever time of day, fish close to a weigh-in site or run a little bit, so they make it really convenient, and then just an absolute enormous amount of effort that goes into the bass twice a year. They make it look like it's easy. It's not easy. If you do fish it, thank these guys for bringing it here. I know everywhere around the entire lake is preparing. The tackle stores are stocked up. The restaurants are stocked. The restaurants, our friends over here at the Branding Iron, Kelly and Lori, they're stocked. They're ready for the bass. They say it's extremely busy for them every year, and all the other restaurants around the lake. Kelly helps down there at the Branding Iron. Lori does most of the work. So if you're in there, if you see Laura, thank her for all they do down there. They feed an enormous amount of people all week, every week at the Branding Iron. Food's always excellent. Service is good. A lot of great help in there. And when you can keep and maintain that help here at the lake, it tells you your owners are doing something right. So keep that in mind. We've got a lot of restaurants on the west side. The west side doesn't get near the attention as, say, Lake Ozark, Osage Beach. We've got a lot of restaurants over here. If some of you don't know about it, there's a place right there in Greenview. It's called Upstream Fish Company. And they've got a lunch menu and a dinner menu. And you're not going to beat it if you like seafood. They have a lobster roll that is incredible. I've had their walleye sandwich. I go there pretty often and get the walleye sandwich. They've got these jalapeno hush puppies and their homemade coleslaw. It's incredible. I mean, it's very, very. It tastes like a high-end restaurant seafood. Then they've got all the other raw seafood you can buy in there. If you're coming down here and you want to cook yourself, it's right there in Greenview at 7 and 5. Check that place out. The little Mexican place right there in Greenview, right next to Stewart's. That's our favorite little Mexican place down here. Super service. We're real big on customer service. You know, I think everybody is. If you're going out to dinner, you want good customer service. You want good food. You want good service. That little place there, they're all super friendly, super fast, very reasonable price. You know, you get on up through Lori. There's other places, a little burger place, Taboo Burgers. I would say, I don't know what they call it, but I would call it gourmet burgers. Big burgers. You can create whatever you want, burger style. You know, the owners work there. The owners work in the fish company. The owners work in Branding Iron. We've got another place there, Tavern at Trails End, a new place. They're real good. Owners work there. Breakfast down here. I'm gonna pick CG's little gas station right there above Hurricane Deck. It's called CG's Mini Mart. You pull in there, plenty of room, pull your boats in there, fuel up, and you're not gonna beat their breakfast here at the lake. Super breakfast. Order right off the menu. They bring it out to you. You can get to go. They've got a lot of to go like burgers, one slice pizzas. They make deli sandwiches. A little bit of everything there, but their breakfast, you're probably not going to beat their breakfast. Chances are it's been around forever. It's on the west side. Super meals for everything. You know, I'm trying not to miss anyone. Val's Restaurant right up there. It's a staple here. Incredible breakfast. Lunch, I think, is all they're open for. You know, on this side, we've got Bryant's Osage Outdoors. Bait and tackle right there at Lori at 135 and 5. If you're coming in from, say, Kansas City, Warsaw area up north, you've got Osage Bait and Tackle. I call it Edgar's Outdoors. It's right there in Versailles, just down from the high school. They've got a lot of stuff. You know, over off of, it's getting a little far from the lake, but over off of 65, you got Hook Solution right there in Lincoln. He's got a lot of tackle. A lot of people don't know about him yet, but as they do, they're going to stop there because it's real convenient. Pull in the parking lot, big parking, go in. Dave's got a lot of stuff in there. You know, and then of course you got the Osage Beach side. Man, restaurants, you just, you know, you got your row of nice restaurants over there, Baxter's, Bentley's, JB Hooks, all super good. The winery right there is good. Wobbly Boots is probably one of the best over there for helpings, service, food, everything. You know, you got everything over there. And then of course you got your Fitz Fishing, all three locations. You got Lake Ozark, Osage Beach, and Camden. All three I know are stocked up. Stop in at one in Camden. Maybe visit with Denise. She'll be there next Friday. And I believe Saturday she's going to be working Fitz Fishing in Camden. If you want to talk to her, talk about fishing. She's been spending a lot of time on the water. and any of the other three, Rob and Ben's store, they're going to help you. You know, them guys are experienced, you know, and they're not going to just shoot you a bunch of bull. They're going to tell you what they feel as far as big fish, baits, what it's going to take for the bass, you know, and believe me, I know all these guys and all these people. If there's nothing they would rather do than tell somebody what bait to use, and then someone actually go out and catch that big fish on it. So, you know, I hope I ain't missing nobody. We've got a lot of good, you know, Jack's Hardware there in Camdenton, kind of hidden back in there. It's a hardware store. He's got quite a few baits. You know, am I missing any other bait stores? You know, there's a couple other little ones. You know, but it's just Lake of the Ozarks. We've got everything down here. You know, the food. Obviously, we like to go out. We like to eat. The food. We've got a lot of great food. A lot of great restaurants around here. The chain restaurants are good. I always lean towards these family owned, locally owned, where the owners of the restaurant are working in there. You know where the money's going to stay. You know you're going to get extra service. The food's normally a little better. But either way, keep that in mind when you're picking a place to eat. If I can help you with anything, shoot me an email. It's jdillbass@gmail.com. Shoot me an email anytime, and I'll respond back as quick as I can. Give me a call. Give Denise a call. 573-204-9005. We'll get you in contact with me for questions on anything, a guide trip, guide service, you know, whatever we can do to help you. Denise's phone number is 314-226-3099. If you want to get a hold of Denise, she's really found a real good, I don't know what you want to call it, knack or slot for her service down here. She's taken a lot of ladies out that want to get into fishing. They want to spend time with their husbands, boyfriends, or their friends, themselves, whatever. And she's a perfect one to show them from the basics all the way up to getting into tournament fishing. You know, so kids, introducing kids to fishing, whatever it is, she's super good at that aspect of it, and can help you. Just like myself, whatever aspect you want, you know, we're going to talk to you when you call us. We're going to talk to you about what you're wanting out of your trip. You just want to go out and catch fish? That's what we'll do. If you want to go out and try to catch a big fish, we'll concentrate on that. You want to go catch dinner? We're going to go do that. We're not going to just take you out in the boat. We're going to do exactly what you want to do, and gear your trip around you. So we really appreciate the opportunity to help you in any way. Just look us up, give us a call, and I promise we'll do everything we can to make your trip everything you expect it to be. So, man, with that being said, boy, good luck. I'm going to do one more report prior to the bash, probably maybe Wednesday, before most everyone's coming down, start pre-fishing, having a good time. Experiencing all the other stuff around the lake, but you know, I'm going to keep you up to date. I'm gonna run this Buzzbait quite a bit to see if I can get some big fish to come up on it. The spinnerbait I know is going to work. The Carolina rig I know is going to work. The jig's going to catch fish. You know, and I can, you know, all I can do is try to kind of push you. Or not necessarily push you, but direct you in the right direction. And I think your odds are the best for catching a fish that will at least cash you a check. So, you know, we'll talk to you next Wednesday. Hopefully we're sitting in a brand new boat, and I can kind of show you that. But until next, say Wednesday, I'll see you. Be safe.